The idea of a plant, and people accuse me of being a plant too.
All the time.
And that's fine. They're all stupid. If you think I'm a plant, you're pretty stupid.
You're very talented. You grew with very fine branches and leaves.
So the idea that the government would make a plant, it doesn't make any sense to me. The also...
Ever.
Here's why. Here's why I'm having such consternation over this. When you cultivate a plant that's witting, meaning they know that they're a plant, they know their job is to go out there and communicate a certain message, you always run the risk of blowback if the plant goes upside down or backwards, if they change, if they turn suit. And then
but then you just kill them.
Administratively challenging.
Oh, yeah, there it is again. That's an admission. You didn't think you were going to get that one by me. Come on.
So...
Jesse Michaels has a show called American Alchemy, which is really incredible on YouTube, and he's works in the Teal office and everything. I might have been telling you about him off camera, but he's eventually going to be on this podcast. I've had a chance to talk with him a bunch. Really good dude, but he was like the first guy to get the interview with Grush. He's known Grush for I think years at this point, like 3.5, 4 years, and I really want him to explain it when he comes on my show because he can explain how he views it a lot better than I can. But my takeaway from what he said is that he felt, as someone who's not in the government, to be clear, he felt that Grush basically had access. There were too many kernels of information that he was able to get, whether you believe it or not, that's a separate question, to be able to say that it was a planted story for someone on the squirrel route who's curious to pick up like him. He's like, there were too many things that he got to, including evidently like witnessing some of the, actually seeing like some of the evidence itself. So do you think that, whether it's Grush or someone else though, do you think that there could be systems in place where higher level forms of the government intelligence want whistleblowers to pick up some kernels of information that it's like bullshit they put there so that they can push a narrative? That's like 2D chess.
Yeah, right. It's the idea that there's some sort of planned conspiracy of...
I didn't call it a conspiracy.
What you explained was a conspiracy, right? That elements in power would plant seeds in people who might be whistleblowers so that they would intentionally go out and spread incorrect information. That is basically the definition of conspiracy, right?
I accept your definition.
But so I come from a world where I very much believe that you cannot attribute to conspiracy what can be explained with idiocy, right? That's one of the two laws of analysis. When people come out and say something, when whistleblowers come out and claim what they believe or what they're so convicted about, going back to Snowden, right? They're certain that they're right and the world needs to know. They don't have all the information. And by definition, when you're inside government, when you're inside secret government organizations, you never have all the information. That's how the government protects itself from having somebody like a real whistleblower come out and give all the keys to the kingdom, like we call them, right? All the secrets at once.
Right.
So if people like your contact at is it American Alchemy?
Yeah, Jesse Michaels.
So like if someone of Jesse's experience is saying it doesn't smell right, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, maybe it's a duck. If it doesn't smell right to him.
Well, no, he's saying it does. He's saying that Grush couldn't have been the quote unquote planted squirrel to get that information because he got to too much. That's his argument. Doesn't mean he's right, but that's his argument.
So yeah, the idea of a plant, and people accuse me of being a plant too.
All the fucking time.
And that's fine. They're all fucking stupid. If you think I'm a plant, you're pretty fucking stupid.
You're a very talented plant. You grew with very fine branches and leaves.
I saw somebody, dude, there's something really fucking wrong with the world when people make videos about why you're a plant.
Yeah.
And there are videos out there about why I'm a plant. It's
I don't, to be clear, I don't think you're a plant.
I appreciate that.
I don't.
That's because you know me well enough.
I do think there is a possibility that certainly, perhaps indirectly, a person of your incredible skill set could absolutely still be an asset to the government in other ways. But one of the main arguments I'd make against all the people out there like, oh, this guy's a PSYOP and shit, is you say whatever the fuck you want. And I can speak from personal experience, and I'll leave it at that, that you say a lot of shit that CIA isn't too happy about.
Right.
And so I don't see that argument. Like, if people actually listen to what you said, I don't see that argument. They'll just point to, say, the argument of, like, Edward Snowden and be like, look at that company man.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, but what about the next 10 things he said?
Yeah.
You know, so I do think that's totally unfair. But listen, there's been a break in trust in there between government and people, well beyond just the CIA for a long time, but especially over the last 20 years or so, that I get why people's heads go to that. I understand where they're coming from, and they don't have to agree. They have people out there listening, you have every right to have your opinion, but my opinion is different than that, and obviously your opinion publicly is different than that.
So the idea that the government would make a plant, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Ever.
If the government's going to make a plant, how would they? I mean, planting is here's why. Here's why I'm having such consternation over this. When you cultivate a plant that's witting, meaning they know that they're a plant, they know their job is to go out there and communicate a certain message. You always run the risk of blowback if the plant goes upside down or backwards, if they change, if they turn suit, and then
but then you just kill them.
Administratively challenging.
Oh, yeah, there it is again. That's an admission. You didn't think you were gonna get that one by me. Come on.
So that's the big. I mean, it's a huge expense with a massive risk of blowback, and you can't control the actual message that comes across because you don't know what the actual voice, the representative, is going to say. So plants are super dangerous, man. It's hard to put plants in governments. It's hard to put plants in economic or corporate espionage. It's hard to put plants anywhere. It's hard to put your faith in a human being to go do a job when you don't have close enough power over them that you can actually like twist the bolts and tighten the wires when you need to. It's too dangerous. We've been down that road pre 9/11 especially, and it didn't work out well. So
how so?
Like the idea of trying to get a sympathizer into a circle of influence, whether you're talking about the Cuban Missile Crisis or whether you're talking about, the OSS in World War II, or whether you're talking about, the behind the Iron Curtain, it's hard. It's hard to plant one of your own into an organization. It's much easier to find somebody who's already there and then just amplify their voice or take advantage of their purpose.
Okay, I could see that.
So to your point, right? I understand that I am one of the few voices out there that, while critical of CIA, I also do not talk about the CIA as being some sort of corrupt secret organization that's trying to undermine American freedom. Most of the voices out there that are former CIA are just talking about how incompetent and corrupt CIA is. So if CIA has a relationship with YouTube, right? I don't know if they do or not. I would imagine that they do. But I can see how CIA might be like, hey, YouTube, kick the algorithm in his favor a little bit and kick the algorithm off of somebody else's favor, right? Because this person generally speaks about CIA in negative terms, and Bustamante generally speaks about CIA in less negative terms.
So that's low touch planting.
And well, that's not even a plant.
I know.
That's just tweaking of information. Not to mention the fact that most of the people who are actually reviewing your YouTube content for covert influence are former intelligence themselves. You know what I mean? Or it could also be that the content that you create with me just happens to be interesting content that people organically watch. When you think about Occam's razor, what's more likely, right? When you think about Hanlon's razor, what's more likely? That there's a great conspiracy or that the content is just popular?
There are aspects of that I think I would agree with, and in some ways are irrefutable. Where I run into an issue with pointing at the different razors, if you will, is that you can then take the argument to use it every time. Meaning, I'm just going to make up percentages. Let's say Occam's razor says, 99% of the time it's this. Every time an individual story comes up, you can say, oh, this is one of the 99, and never say the 1%, which, it's hard to guess the 1%. That's the needle in the haystack, right? And I know that exists. And your point about, by the way, it's easier to cultivate people who are already within. I completely agree with that. And I also agree that the whole planting thing is way harder than the general public out there likes to make it. I don't think it doesn't exist though. I think we've proven that it exists. I might believe you if you're saying, especially in the current technological landscape, it's been harder to do that post 9/11 and post tech boom. I might buy that, but it can exist essentially.
Anything can exist. Yeah. It's like what we were talking about when we were discussing UFOs, right? There's a possibility, but the probability is the real question.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.